Guys who did something stupid for a girl, what did you do? She crashed her bike going down a paved road, so I did the same to impress her, or to make her feel better. I really don't know my reasoning. She landed in the ditch. I did not. Enrolled in the same university, she stopped talking to me 2 weeks later. Traveled an hour and a half multiple times a week to go see her, she never did the same for me and she eventually ghosted me. It was probably one of the most pathetic and cringy times in my life, but I learned a lot from it. In high school, this girl who I was close friends with, but also had a not-so-secret crush on, told me once how she really loved those huge 7-foot-tall teddy bears, so I told her one day I'd buy her one and she laughed, writing it off as a joke. Fast forward like 3 years later when we're going to the same local college and reconnected after slowly drifting apart after high school. She tells me one day that she's sick, so I do the only logical thing. Drive to Costco after class, drop $200 on that huge teddy bear, stuff it into the backseat of my tiny Honda Civic, drive incredibly dangerously since the bear is taking up my entire rear window, then show up at her front door. She says it feels too weird and romantic given our past, me having that not-so-secret crush back in high school and her having to tell me multiple times that we're better off as friends, so I do the whole drive back and return the bear. Back in elementary school, a girl asked me to be her bodyguard. I said yes and got beat up the next break by 5 boys. Grew my hair long because she asked me to. She stopped going out with me. I kept growing it, and wasn't successful with women until I got it cut. Smartphone contract. 2 years, €45 monthly. After 6 months she left me. Now I have 2 phones and €70 to pay every month. Getting up from the bleachers to play dodgeball, I tried to pull my sweatpants off while yelling "let's do this." Ended up yanking off everything, boxers and all. Gave her a chocolate bar with a golden ticket to go out with me. I got denied. First girl I asked out, I left a chalk outline of a body on her driveway, along with a, clearly fake, police report indicating I was dying to go out with her. Yeah? I still cringe at the memory. Edit, this blew up, thanks for the silver guys. And to everyone asking, I did know her and we had been flirtatious with each other. One of her friends assured me she would say yes to something creative. She did not say yes. In high school, I saw a girl I liked walking with her friend. My genius brain decided I needed to impress her, so I decided skipping backwards and saying some quip would make me noticeable for sure. I started skipping backwards and said better get to class. I attempted to turn around while skipping and almost face planted but caught myself. I walked to class and never spoke to her again. Moved across the country to go to a university near her. She dumped me 4 weeks later. P.S. My life turned out great as a result of my decision to attend this school, so it has a happy ending. Was in a long-distance relationship with her. Flew back for Valentine's Day, turned up with flowers. To see her through the window, sitting on the lap of her ex. I told my university-aged, now boyfriend, before our first date that I thought he looked cute in his high school uniform, had been looking at old pics, so he rocked up to pick me up in his full school uniform that barely fit him anymore. I was so completely obsessed with a girl that I disregarded my own well-being and threw away any chance I had for success. We dated for 4 years while we were in school for architecture. Towards the end of our degrees, she started having trouble with her thesis project and asked for help. In what can only be described as a lengthy period of insanity, I decided to stop working on my own projects and focus entirely on her thesis. I did everything for her: designs, drawings, models, and write-ups. Her presentation went flawlessly and she had the top grades in her class. As a result of staying up all night for weeks at a time and repeatedly delaying my own work, I failed most of my classes and dropped out of school. She was grateful, and begged me to help her work on her master's degree as well. No problem. Got her straight A's and a brand new diploma to add to her collection. She dumped me on graduation day and immediately began a relationship with someone who understood the importance of self-respect. I'm not even mad, it was entirely my own doing, and I learned some valuable lessons. Really expensive fuck up though. Cost me about 8 years of my life playing catch-up. Never put a school relationship before your own success. I made a rap. No, I genuinely am too cringed about it to post it. Edit, checked my backups, weren't a lot, didn't find anything. The paper I wrote it down must be gone. This was 10 years ago. Also asked my friend who had a studio back in the day. I recorded it there, with horrible ad-libs, and was quite sure he didn't have the MP3 anymore. In middle school I dated a guy who carved my initials into his leg. Flattering, I guess. Started smoking cigarettes. Edit, I'm smoking a nicotine vape right now reading these replies. It's been 6 years. I did nothing. Was basically head over heels for a girl who was clearly interested in me. My anxiety prevented me from acting on the clearly displayed interest she had in me. When I was around 15 I got really frustrated that a girl that I had known for a while did not want to like me and get together. I was texting her in the middle of class and the teacher made a comment about it and she made me hand over the phone and something snapped in me. I threw a chair across the room, hit my desk, which broke my hand, and I broke down crying. I thought about it today and it still makes me cringe sometimes. And I apologized to my teacher and everyone included. The girl is now one of my closest friends. Edit, I threw the chair and then slammed my hand into the desk for the people that are confused. Sorry, English is not my first language. Moved across the US, East Coast to West Coast, for her, when I really wanted to go back home to Asia. Broke up with me after a year. Not necessarily for her, but I tried to impress a girl at my middle school fall festival when a guy bet me $60 I wouldn't eat a live goldfish he had just won. I did it. It did not impress her. I didn't end up doing it, but my senior year of high school my then girlfriend wanted me to quit marching / concert / symphonic band so that we could spend time together over the fall break. Our band was going to perform in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. My parents had already paid $1,000 each for the week-long trip to NYC for my sister and I, and playing the saxophone was something that I had loved since I was in elementary school. I really considered it, but I'm pretty sure even if I wanted to there was no way my parents would let me and just be out $1,000. I drank a jar of pickle juice as a dare. 5 minutes later I was covered in pickled vomit. I saw cuts on the arms of a girl whom I was close to in high school. I tried speaking to her about it and she said I wouldn't understand. But I knew she had no one else to talk to, so what did I do? I tried telling her I would understand and she wouldn't believe me. So I pretended I was also sad and anxious, and that me opening up made her comfortable enough to open up. She was right though, I didn't understand, but at least she had someone to talk to even if I couldn't offer much help. We ended up dating for 2 years after both getting even closer due to all that. Anyway, she ended up turning against all her morals and everything she stood for. Turned into the people that were making her depressed and cheated on me. Anyway, I must have done some Pavlov magic because now I am depressed and do have depression. I met a girl and fell head over heels for her. She lived in another state, nevertheless, we started a long-distance relationship. Coincidentally, she had just lost her job, so I sent her money every week. Almost my entire check, and I drove out to see her every chance I got. That autumn I found out she had a boyfriend and was just using me to pay her rent. I was at work when I found out and just left. I had to confront her about deceiving me. I drove 3 hours to her house and by the time I got there, I knew it didn't matter. She wasn't the person I thought she was. I gave her everything I had for nothing in return. Instead of being mad or saying something that would win her back, I told her that she's a horrible person for lying to me, that I hope someday someone hurts her as much as she did me. The next day I went back to my job to see if I could get my last paycheck. My boss took me into his office and laid into me about being irresponsible and failing the company. While I was sitting there, I could barely hear him as all I could think about was how stupid I was, and suddenly, I started crying. I mean torrents of tears, ugly cry. I must have belled for a good 10 minutes. My boss stopped berating me and silently waited for me to get control of myself. Then, in a very sympathetic tone, he told me it's okay. I was in love like that once. We all do stupid things in the name of love. Try to learn from this. It may seem like the world is ending, but it's not. You'll be okay. Then he sent me back to work stating that we never have to talk about it again. He was a good boss and a great guy. Bought her everything and trusted her. I had an ex that constantly made me feel like her life was falling apart no matter how much she tried to get ahead. She would ask for things like cars, usually cheap ones, so I didn't mind. Well, 3 cars later the amount was piling up. After the cars I was helping her pay rent because she would tell me someone stole from her or something like that. She never could keep a job and I'd believe her when she would say all the bosses were jerks or sexually harassing her, so she was quitting. After a point I was paying for her cable bill while working an average of 65 hours a week to cover everything. She drove a decent Mitsubishi Eclipse while I drove a rundown Neon. I trusted everything she said, and while I was working every hour I wasn't sleeping, she was having sex with every guy she could so they could provide for her as well. I never knew because I didn't listen to anyone who said anything. When she got with my one close friend behind my back I managed to see who she was and we went separate ways. Woke up at 4 AM to pick up flowers from a nearby park, came back home, put on some nice clothes, hid all the flowers in a backpack, walked all the way to school, and at the middle of art class I asked her if she wanted to go to homecoming with me. That's my number one. Fought with a hater in a comments section on one of her YouTube videos. Girl didn't like I was getting into it with people on her videos, never asked me to stop, just went to our principal, almost got suspended for it. Did it yesterday, after her telling me she doesn't know what she wants and that she doesn't think she wants a relationship right now. I left flowers on her doorstep with a card thanking her for the fun times we've had. A girl was leading me on, but also being obvious about it. I was stupidly believing I could change her ways and get her to actually date me. She had revealed she always wanted a giant teddy bear. So for her birthday/Valentine's Day I bought a giant bear costume from Amazon and like 90 roses. The idea was one for every day I had known her. Creepy and cringy if looking back. Anyhow, she called me drunk the night before and screamed mean shit at me, and I finally broke down and told myself she was a shitty person, because she always was terrible to me, and I let myself think I could change that because I was desperate to not be alone. In the end I created a sign that said free bear hugs and roses for Valentine's and wore the bear suit onto our college campus on Valentine's Day to give away all the roses. It made so many people happy that it was one of the best things I've ever done. So many hugs and girls were crying because they didn't have to feel so alone on a shitty commercialized holiday. It was cool. Plus the football players all took a flower and hugged me, which was surprisingly wholesome. I gave her all my thoughts, all my time, all my energy. Did my best to be a great listener and have great back and forth communication to fix all any issues we would encounter. We were happy, I thought. Until one day she started to back off. We talked and what she told me left me speechless. Apparently she had me so high up in a pedestal that after an occasion where I had to cancel due to my sick grandmother she felt sick and couldn't function. She told me she needed to be able to function when I couldn't be there and that she needed time away from me so she can relearn to do that. I didn't know what to think then and I still don't know now. Thank you everyone who took their time to comment and reply no my nonsense, and thank you to the kind stranger who gave me my first silver. This can be a great community.